Here's a clock that my son bought. I thought I'd do a little different video here. Do a video about repairing this clock. I'm going to do it in different parts, of course. This will be part one. This is an OG, it's called, an OG style case. The clock, that dial on the top is loose, so it's going to fall down. But that's the style of case. They were quite popular at their time. There was a lot of them made, thousands of them. A little history on Seth Thomas. Seth Thomas is one of the most well-known American makers. They go back before 1840, 1844, somewhere's in that area. They were making originally woodworks clocks up until about 1844. At which time they sent a man to another shop to learn how to make brass movements. So they started production of brass movements after that 1844 period. This clock has a brass movement in it. They made 30-hour and 8-day brass movement. They go back with the OG style case, though. This particular style case, from what I can dig up in the research, is that this case started about, somewhere around 1850. They started making these cases. And they ran a production of those cases up until 1913. It was a long time, and that was while it was still Seth Thomas. It was under the Seth Thomas family. It still was run by the entire family. So it goes back quite a ways. This case measures 25, excuse the clock, 25 and 3/16 inches tall. And it's 15 and 5/8 inches wide. So the thickness or depth of the clock is 4 1/4. So that's what the depth of the clock is, the total depth. That's including the veneer and the whole of the case. The whole of the outside of the case is veneered. This is all veneer that you see. It's all a finer wood, a burl cut wood. It's much prettier when it's shellacked. In those days, the shellac was the real stuff. It was handmade. And it was applied, of course, production style, but it still came out with a beautiful color on the case. Now, this, of course, has the patina of age, and we want to keep that in our restoration. We don't want to take that away from the clock. So, as far as that's concerned, there's a lot of veneer work to do on here. There's a lot of veneer that's missing, or that was damaged. Somebody had decided that they would repair this bottom part here, that's from here to here, and they put on veneer over the top of what was there, filling with some sort of a filler underneath. I don't know what it was, but I've cleaned all that off. I've left this section. This is original. This one piece here is original, so I've left that there. I'll add new veneer to each side here on the bottom. The door here, I've already removed the screws, so I can take that right out. The door, the glass in the top is original. This I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a big bubble there. It's not perfect. That shows the glass, the age of the glass. The tablet in the bottom is a nice tablet. It's called reverse painting. It's painted on the back of the glass. This is starting to lift or separate from the glass. It needs some help laying it back down so that it doesn't continue flaking. There's some areas that are flaked off here. I'm going to see if I can't repair some of that. It might be hard, but I'm going to see if I can't repair some of that. I have some special paint to do that with. It's just for glass. So anyway, the door itself is not in bad shape. The veneer is pretty good. There's a little bit of bubbling on the veneer here and along here. It's not bad though. And the top, I don't know if you can see it here in the corners. Somebody's also filled those with some kind of a fill. It's real poor fill. I'll clean that all off and put on new veneer, or fill it again and then hand paint it to match. Anyway, that's the door. Put it over here. Now the hands, these hands are called Maltese style hands. They don't belong in this clock at all. This clock would have had spade hands, and the minute hand would have been about 5 3/8 inches long. The dial is a replacement. Somewhere along the line the dial was damaged, I suppose, so somebody decided to replace it. The original dial would have looked much like this with the double chapter ring, and it had Roman numerals, yes, just like this. But the spandrels would have been totally different. They would have matched that bottom door. So, and it was on. They were made on zinc. This is on aluminum, which is a modern material. So that's wrong. The movement, got a nice movement in it. It's in real good condition. It does have somewhere, there is some egg shaping in some of these gears, egg shaped on the pivots here, the bearing points. But it appears to me that it will run. Somebody put cable on it, brass cable, which is a no-no. You don't put cable on these, it's hard on them. This should be a gut, or even a braided type of fishing line works really well too. This also has an hour strike on a count wheel. Here's the fork. This counts the hour. It has an alarm ring here for setting your alarm. You set the number of hours that you want for that to go off, or you could bake your bread. That's how they did their baking. We'll set that aside. That originally struck on a gong, which is missing. The gong would have gone behind the bell. So that's missing. Somebody's somewhere along the line has broken it or something, and it's been lost. This is the alarm mechanism, and you wind that up with this here. It's spring driven. The paper in the bottom of the clock is in pretty poor condition, but I have stabilized what I could. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's the paper. There's a little close-up of the case itself. Connecticut, where the clock was made. They're beautiful old papers inside them. Side and the back. Somewhere along the line there's a Creative Clocks, it says on the bottom here, and reference number, performed by RB, and it's dated 8/2001. I don't know what they did to it other than they may have cleaned it, because the movement does look pretty clean. You can see there's some damage here where there's veneer missing. I'll repair those too. Lots of repair work to do. I've already repaired this corner. It was open about 1/2 inch, and I've closed that. This one needs to be closed, so I'm going to do that next. And the dial itself would have been held in the case with little wire pegs that, like an L shape, they fit into these holes, and when the dial is on there, they just turn over the dial and hold it in place. There are no screws used. Cables go up and through the top, come out the top of the case. You can see where they come out. There's 2 pulleys, one for the time, one for the strike. And the dust covers are missing. There would have been dust covers over the top of these holes. So I've got to make those. You can see what shape they were. And I've got a number of clocks that are older than this that are also missing their dust covers too. They're all weight-driven clocks. So I think that pretty much covers what that needs to have done. Nice old clocks to keep. The OG styles aren't as popular as so many of the others nowadays. Value-wise, I see that they range. It depends on condition, but I think if a clock is totally restored and clean and in good running condition, it should be worth between $200 and $300. Maybe in some cases, if it's an earlier clock, more than that. but it depends on where it was made, who printed the label, as to how you can date the actual clock. But I do believe the date of this clock is late 70s up into the 80s sometime. I do believe it could possibly be a little later in the 80s. I'm just not absolutely certain, but somewhere in that period. Well, I'll end now. That's the end of part 1. So we'll have to get going on these repairs, and then I'll start another video as I go. So, end of part 1.